The experience that I had to actually gain, from reading these pages. I encourage you all as our viewers to actually read this book. It will change your life. Intentional or not, there's anointing on these pages that will saturate your heart and your whole mind.
Amen.
So, hey, everyone, and thank y'all for tuning in with us again. My name is Chris Colson. I'm here with Isaiah Tukes, Kimberly Lake, and Laria Reed, and we are Four Friends in a Book. So, Four Friends in a Book is our monthly podcast series where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading together and any relevant topics that relevant or current topics that may relate to that book that we're reading. So, somewhat of a mixture of a book review and just table talks amongst friends. So first and foremost, if you haven't already, please like, share, comment, subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Again, we would love to hear from you guys, any book recommendations or topics you would want us to talk about or discuss here on Four Friends in a Book podcast. So give us that feedback. We want to hear from you. So getting into it, the book for this month. So we had a very interesting book, kind of in that self-help genre of reading. We read Tori Roberts' book, Wholeness. So I'll just give you a quick, summary or recap. So Wholeness is about removing invisible boundaries from our lives that keep us from realizing our highest potential. So again, kind of in that self-help genre of books, but really one of those books to kind of help you get to a point of identifying, kind of problem areas in your life or things that may be holding you back and get into a state of wholeness. So, very good book, very good read, and a good selection for this month. So, even with that being said, what were you guys' thoughts or biggest takeaways from the book itself? Again, Wholeness by Tori Roberts. Isaiah, you want to start us off?
Oh, yes, sir, I can. My biggest takeaway from the book was he talked about the power of forgiveness. And I had learned that, forgiveness is not just for the other person, but it just for me. It allows me to move forward, with my life. Life is just too short to be harboring over things, from the past. And I even read something like a while ago to just say, even if you forgive that person, you all don't have to become best friends again. You just have to actually forgive them. And it allows you just to, move forward with your life. And, with Tori Roberts, he talked about in this book that the key instructions that will assist you in eliminating old hurt is the power of forgiveness. And the reason that I say old is because that sometimes we hold on to things that were just done in the past. And, we still hold on to them as if they were present. So some of our daily routines have even been defined by the brokenness of our past, and it appears normal to us. And for me, I had to normalize not letting people stay in my mind rent-free.
That's good.
That's good. Actually, and you mentioned in the past, one of my, favorite chapters in the book was Ghosts from My Past, a Ghost of the Past. So that was a very eye-opening chapter to realize how sometimes our past is really holding us back from reaching our destiny and preventing us from moving to that next level. So,
that's true.
Kim, you wanna tackle it next? What were your thoughts, overall takeaway from the book itself, Wholeness by Tori Roberts?
Well, one, I thought it was a phenomenal book. It's really great. If you haven't read it, I would recommend you go out and read it, especially if you're in a point in your life where you want to make changes or you're self-reflecting on where you are. It's a great book. My biggest takeaway from the book was when he was talking about patterns in your life. And it was big for me because I know we all have certain goals we want to reach or things we want to do. And we have unknowing little things that kind of keep us in the same pattern to where we can't get to where we really want to be. So just really finding those patterns in your life finding the root of them and knowing why you do certain things the way you do. And then knowing, once you know what you're doing, you can change your behavior and then get to where you really want to be. So I think that was my biggest takeaway in the book, is just finding your patterns in your life.
That's good.
Most definitely. Yeah.
All right, Laria, you wanna jump in there?
Sure. Well, I love the book. I thought it was amazing. One thing that I noticed that he said I don't know if he said, he probably did. It was just so power packed. But the honesty that he had with himself is what causes the change. You know, it's good to have all of these different things and you need to be whole and all that, but he was so honest with himself, and he was
That's
transparent about the honesty that he had with himself, with his marriage, with codependency, with how he grew up, with the issues with his father, with all of those things. It's almost like he looked at himself in the mirror and said, I need to change this. And I don't know about y'all, but change is tough. You know, you need to change in certain areas if you really want to be whole, but it requires a different you, and it requires work. You know, you see people say, you got to do the work all the time. Y'all must fix my life. You got to do the work. But he really was honest with himself and said, these are areas where I'm falling short. Do I want to be made whole or not? And if I do, I'm going to have to work on them. And I admire that so much about him within the book, through all the situations that he talked about. So,
yeah, very good. Yeah, I agree with all you guys. It was one of those books where, you know, again, even if you aren't necessarily going through something right now, it's still a good read to kind of self-reflect. He used a lot of good practical examples. He talks about his own personal life, growing up in California, being shot as a teenager,
Yes.
you know, childhood issues with his father. You know, he, like Maria mentioned, marriage. So he uses a lot of good real world examples to kind of identify the method of getting to a space of wholeness. So very good book. I agree. Again, even if you aren't necessarily going through anything right now, it's still one of those good books to kind of help you self-reflect. And again, get to the root of some of the things that may be holding you back. And I think that was one thing he really pointed out a lot, was that asking why, you know, a lot, as far as trying to determine, why is this happening? What is the cause? What is the root of this issue that has me thinking this way? And then get into that awareness and then making the adjustment. So again, it was a good book as well. So you guys read the book. Again, it's talking about wholeness, you know, becoming a better person. Did you guys gain any new insight, any new perspectives on life, or just something in general that he mentioned in the book that you kind of may not have been aware of before, or something that kind of stood out differently this time with just reading the book itself? Did you guys gain any new perspectives? Kim, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. For me, I loved when he talked about your perceptions. So he gave examples about, like, when he was a little boy, the rejection he felt from his father. He carried that over into adulthood. So when he had interactions like with people and he felt slightly rejected, or he would, in certain situations, he would see rejection when it wasn't really there. And as he looked back, he saw the root of that was his father. And so we all have things from our childhood, or even last month, that color the way we see things. Make sure you look at situations the correct way with the right perception, instead of putting other things on people that it doesn't belong there. So I think that was really good.
So Isaiah, did you want to jump in there next with any new perspectives or takeaways that you may have gotten from reading the book?
Yes. A good takeaway that I actually got from reading the book was, you know, I learned that it's okay, you know, not to be okay. This book helped me, you know, to let go of the need to, you know, just to have it all together, and just to actually surrender to a process that it will allow me just to go forward and lead me into a better place. And you all, you know, the hardest thing for me is to allow myself to be vulnerable. And, you know, it's just hard just to allow, you know, the help when you're just accustomed to just doing it all, and you just put yourself out there, you know, just letting somebody just actually help you, you know, to obtain, you know, where you want to go in life. And I know for me, you know, with the vulnerability, the reason I don't like it because I actually just mask over stuff, which I need to stop actually doing. And, Tori actually told me, with vulnerability, it's okay, not to be okay, to actually be in a safe space with someone.
Yeah, that's good, brother. I actually, one of the quotes I wrote from the book was, none of us escapes life's breakings. And so again, just kind of showing that we all go through stuff throughout this life that we live. Just unexpected things, unforeseen events that may happen. And so again, even what you mentioned, just being vulnerable and understanding that it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
It's just the result of a life that we live sometimes where, we don't have to always have it together.
That's true.
It's okay to have those moments, but then again, having the tools to kind of get yourself back to where you need to be, I guess, in a good space. All right, Ms. Reed, what you got for us? What were your new perspectives from the book?
Well, mine were kind of old but new, but I like the way he talked about it with the relationships piece. We always talk about relationships on here. And he talked about something that we all see is a lot of broken people looking for another person to fill whatever that hole is in their heart. And he talks about healing and how, and I think I mentioned it before with his ex-wife, he said that he was just very codependent. And they ended up being together for a while. But once one person becomes whole, it's hard for the building to sort of stand within the relationship. So it's good, you've gone through a breakup or you've gone through a divorce or whatever, to take that time to heal yourself so that when it is time for another relationship or even a friendship or whatever, that you're completely whole, so that when you come together, I think the chapter was called Two Halves Don't Make a Whole. And I thought that was just so cut and dry, to the point, and from somebody with experience. So I loved it. I thought that was very impactful. And I love the way he talked about it.
Yeah, that was good. We've talked about that before, or even some of our other shows, as far as this mindset of your partner or having a relationship that make you whole, that you're not complete if you do these things. But again, it's your responsibility to become a whole person, and you partner with other whole people.
Right.
That's the move. Like, that's the goal, opposed to trying to depend on someone to complete you. So
that's true.
We talked about the good stuff and how the book kind of resonated with us. Again, it's in that self-help genre. Was there anything in the book that you guys disagreed with or felt like may have been lacking, that maybe should have been included, or just an ideal or a concept that he talked about that just you didn't really agree with? Was there anything in the book from that perspective that you guys had?
I didn't have anything. I thought it was well written. I thought it was very practical. I thought that what he talked about was something that made you think, and then it made you reflect on your life. And that's the great thing about when an author does a great job with a book, it makes you look at yourself.
That's true.
And I believe that he did an excellent job. It was very good. It really, I had never heard him before. I'm new to his ministry. I'm new to hearing him or and reading his books. So this was very refreshing for me. And I thought that it was very good. So I have no complaints at all. I love it.
And I go, just to piggyback off L'Oreal, I had no complaints as well. I have been following his, ministry for a while, and, just reading Wholeness, just every chapter that I was going through, like, hey, he seems like he's talking directly to me in these chapters. Even reading this book, it just encourages you to actually uncover who you really are, to be made whole again, to be free from jealousy and regret and from the past. This book, just took me on an amazing journey. I just can't say enough how, he actually shared, what he was actually going, through. He was, from him to be this big platform, he was very transparent, what he was going with his childhood, as you all said, the up and down relationship that he had with his dad. I'm actually in a better place from reading Wholeness, and I could feel his authenticity, in the words that he actually wrote. And I can't, explain enough, the experience that I had to actually gain, from reading these pages. I encourage you all as our viewers to actually read this book. It will change your life, intentional or not. There's anointing on these pages that will saturate your heart and your whole mind.
Woo.
Amen.
Boy, preaching, didn't
That was good, because I was thinking it was really anointed. It's an anointed book for real.
It is.
It's from God. That's a God book. It really is.
True.
Yeah. For those that may not even know, so Tori Roberts is a pastor. So it's not too preachy, but again, he's just giving very practical advice. Again, like Isaiah mentioned, there is a lot of anointing in his words and how he's expressing, and even giving that those his own personal stories behind these advice that he's giving out. So I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, I was just going to echo what they were saying. I thought the book was spot on. I wouldn't add anything to it or take anything out of it. And I know for me, I'm going to personally go back through the book again and really take each chapter slow and really try to digest it and really put to work and practice what he's talking about. So I think the book was great, and I have no complaints about it.
Yeah.
Hey, you all, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it like a workbook that went to the book, like you could study along with it?
I don't know. Is it?
So one of the things I was going to mention, so even for the people that may not have even read the book yet, so he does have a website. So it's
website
areyouwhole.com, where you actually can do a wholeness test. So it's a series of questions. You answer these questions, and it kind of gives you a kind of assessment of your wholeness. And it's actually a good transition to our next topic. So again, we're in the month of August. We're just wrapping up the Olympics. And so we're reading this book on wholeness. And one of the big things that came out of the Olympics was Simone Biles deciding to sit out on some of her activities or gymnastic activities due to her mental health and her mental wellness, and her being, I guess, brave enough to take the stance to say, hey, I'm having issues, and I know that this could affect me in my performance, and deciding to step back. Kim, you wanna tackle that first?
Well, I completely support Simone Biles. I think it's very courageous what she did. When I first heard her talking about it, I didn't think twice about it. Like, I heard her, I was like, oh, she's saying she can't compete. She's having some issues. She needs to take time for herself. And I was like, okay, cool. Cool. Kudos to her. And then literally hours later on social media, and then the blogs, and then radio, it just blew up and way out of proportion. And I just think we have to remember that athletes are people too. One, they're not just there for our entertainment, and two, if she says she can't do something, we have to trust her and believe her when she says that. I don't think she needs to put her physical body or mental health on the line for the Olympics or to get a gold medal. And I mean, the Olympics comes around every 4 years, yes, but people really don't be caring about the Olympics like that. Like, in 2 weeks, nobody's going to talk about the Olympics, so it's not that big of a deal. So I just think it was great that she took the time for herself. And in the book, Tori, it's okay not to be okay. She was saying, I'm not okay. And she took that time for herself. So I completely agree with her and stand with her on that.
So true.
Good. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I can. I agree. I think this young lady, it was, big of her, to step away in the capacity that she actually did. She advised them that, her mental state wasn't there at the point. And she didn't go into, much detail, but she was like, I need, sometimes to step away. And just like the way that the media ridiculed her, like she was actually a robot, and she was actually a human being, to the point that she had to actually make a statement just to say that her aunt died, and she just needed to take a time away. She was, thousands of miles away from her family, and they went on this apology tour after they found out, what was going on with her. And I think for us, like Kim said, now these people are just not only athletes, but they're actually human beings with actually feelings. And for her, like, what if she would have got onto that beam, and in the mental state that she in could have potentially hurt herself, because even though that her body was actually at the Olympics, her mind was back with her family. So it was big of her just to step away and just to get some thoughts thoughts about, what's going on. You never know what could happen, until you actually are in those shoes. So, I totally agree with her, for taking a step back and, just allowing herself to, regroup.
Good. Maria, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Simone Biles owes none of us anything. With all of the medals that she's gotten, she's proven, she's tested. We know how good she is. And I was kind of like Kim. I was surprised. I mean, I knew when she announced it, it was like, oh, okay, well, she's just going to have to take some time off. And everybody was going like, I played through my championship in football. And I'm thinking to myself, football is run to the left, hit somebody to the right. We're talking about twisting in the air, backflips. It's like you have to have a complete mental. I mean, it's all mental, and you're by yourself. You're not on she's on a team, but you compete alone. So the mental toughness needed, she knows what she needs to do because she's got all the medals. I mean, so if the woman says, I can't do it, I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you can't do it. So I didn't understand. And I think that's kind of the problem with our culture. We'll say, we've really got to be there for people when they say they need mental health days and all this. But when they do it, we ridicule them. And it's like, I mean, what do you want? I mean, it's almost as if we're not satisfied until somebody dies so we can say RIP to them. So I hate that that's happened to her. And I just hope that it doesn't discourage her from continuing to say if she's not okay, to just say it. So, yeah, I mean, she's good with me. Like I said, most of the people who are talking about her can't do an ounce of what she can do. She is phenomenal. She is, and most of the people talking about don't even watch gymnastics. You don't even know what's going on. Don't get me started. Look, I'll be on the rant in a minute. But yeah, that was the edited version. I really wanted to say some real stuff, but I'll let y'all have it.
Interesting.
We're having a mini rant over here.
A mini?
Yeah. Leave my girl alone.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there was such a high expectation on her. And I think it was awesome that she got to the point of realizing that, hey, mentally, I'm not here the way I need to be. And that's having a physical impact on my performance.
Right.
The same people that were complaining and talking about her, pushing through and just, keep your head down and just, I guess, kind of working through it. Those people would have been, very upset or sad if, she would have done something that could have, physically hurt her. Or she ended up being paralyzed doing one of these stunts. And again, ultimately, she has to live that life. So
that's right.
I don't think anyone has the ability or even the right to question, someone else's mental state and how they feel like they should be handling things. Because again, ultimately, she has to live that life and live with any consequences that may have come out of her not performing well, getting injured, or whatever else may have come up of it. We definitely have to unlearn and relearn new tactics, new methods to make things easier. And again, just because our parents or our grandparents or forefathers had it tough, it doesn't mean we have to stay in that same mindset. We should be about making it easier for our generation and the generations to come. So for Friends of the Book podcast, again, we're not just about the books. We're talking about relevant topics, current events. And so for this month, we read the book Wholeness. And we even discussed and related that to the Olympics of going on right now with, Simone Biles and even, some other professional athletes that are speaking up and discussing mental health and wellness. And again, all these things to kind of get back to the space of, again, being self-aware, being conscious, of yourself as a person and what space you're in. And again, putting in those methods and utilizing those tools to kind of better yourself. So, yeah, good talk, good talk, good discussion. So look, we're gonna transition right now. You know, we can get to that part of the show that I know y'all always looking forward to. Now, our favorite segment of the show. We have it each episode, which we call the rant. So
Yes.
60 seconds from one of the friends here, uninterrupted. We're not debating, we're not arguing, we're not contesting what's being said. It's just a time that we take where we let someone speak from their heart, whatever may be on their mind. So we coming back to my brother Isaiah once again. He been killing these rants. I don't know what we getting. I never know what we getting, but he kill them every time. So 60 seconds for my brother Isaiah, starting now. Go.
As the world continues to face a public health crisis, many Black Americans are facing what could be the greatest disservices in housing security. The federal eviction moratorium ended without a provision in sight, and that could leave millions in housing limbo. Just as joblessness caused by COVID-19 fell heavily on minorities, the coming evictions will fall heavily on people, particularly in the Black and Brown communities, who will face greater risk of evictions and barriers to the vaccination. People like Congresswoman Tori Roberts had been protesting and sleeping outside the U.S. Capitol building for 5 days in protest of the expiration of the eviction moratorium. Through her efforts with the White House, extended the eviction moratorium for 60 days. But this only put a Band-Aid on the situation. Letting the eviction moratorium end is genuinely what I'm afraid of and what's to come next. To many people who actually have to use the housing authorities, and it's vastly underfunded and understaffed, and that isn't going to help the situation. And when you're in a position of influence and you're quiet and or obsolete on important issues, you're part of the problem too. And that's that on that.
Woo. Hey, that boy killing these rants every month, every episode, giving us new information for you guys to go follow up on, check out. And again, we're not debating it, we're not contesting it. And it goes to show and highlight again, you know, there's so much going on in this world and our country. And so we have to be active participants to voice our opinion and be the catalyst for change that we want to see. So
that's it.
Thank you, brother. So again, 4 Friends in the Book podcast. We giving y'all books, we giving y'all current events, relevant topics. We hear y'all rants. So we do it every episode, and it's been a good thing for us. So we're actually going to transition right now. We're going to segue and actually introduce our book for next month. So Kim, tell them about our book coming up for next month.
Our next book is The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. So I want everybody that is listening to this to go out, get the book. If you have to get it on Audible, the library, go buy it, whatever, because we want you to read along with us. So make sure you get the book. And Isaiah, when is our next show?
Hey guys, our next show will be airing September 16th. We always air every third Thursday of the month, and you don't want to miss it. Laria, how can they find us?
They can find us everywhere because 4 Friends in the Book is everywhere. We're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, Facebook. I mean, we're everywhere. Everywhere you want to be. Apple, all over any of your streaming outlets, that's where we are. So make sure that you go like us on YouTube. Make sure you go and like our page, like us on Facebook. All right.
That's good. That's good. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in and joining with us. Let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, and let's have a discussion here on 4 Friends in the Book. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.